Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Carly, raw and uncut, or Carlissa, whatever you want to call me. And today I want to talk about psych disorders. I'm messing with my hair. I need to take it down. It's been up. I've been wearing this style for like 3 months, and that's a very long time for me to wear a hairstyle. I know I switch it up like every 2 weeks. Anyway, enough about me. So, yeah, I studied psychology and behavioral health for 5 years. Simultaneously between like a general studies degree, but there still were a lot of like psychology, mind and body wellness classes within my general studies degree as well. And something that I think that is ringing for me now that that pathway of education is on hold is the overuse of psychological disorders today. Now, listen, don't get me wrong, like I think it's great that we have this science. It's important that we have these like ways to find people help, but I do feel like there is a heavy diagnosis of anxiety, PTSD, triggers, all of these like things that we hear on social media. Like I feel like there's an overuse of the term. Last night I was laying in my bed and I was thinking about like autism and how there are so many people like diagnosed with autism. And I know that there are like different levels of that mental disorder. So like there's like the high functioning autism, the Asperger syndrome, and those who like are all the way at the other end who really just need a lot of help doing things for themselves, where they're like 20s but their mind is 8 years old. So like I'm not discounting those on like the further end of the spectrum, not even those who are on the more like normal functioning people with autism. But because there's been such a high diagnosis in adults, I have been wondering if this is some type of like psychological warfare. Like I don't want to discount anybody's issues or anybody's diagnosis and what they may have, but I'm starting to wonder if this like new high diagnoses of adults in their 20s or older being diagnosed like right now with autism is just like another personality trait or type of way of like thinking and moving, and they just can't find a word for it. I just have a hard time digesting that like there are all of a sudden millions of people in America at this time in their lives diagnosed with autism. I just feel like, similar to how like the science of introversion and extroversion has always been there, but it's become more popular and more mainstream within the past 5 years. So I wonder if like this other personality that people are not digesting or other brain function is like, its own thing. Like I don't know if I'm starting to question if autism is the right word for that. That's just my thoughts. But as far as anxiety goes, like anxiety, I went through therapy. I spent 4 years in therapy. And one of the things that my therapist told me was a Black woman. They told me that anxiety is a normal feeling. Like, honestly, this therapist was great, and they never really shared their personal opinions with me, but they were more of like question based. Like, I remember one time they were like, Carly, do you really think X, Y, and Z? And it felt like they were trying to like tell me like, hey, like I'm here for you, I hear you. Like people will try to, it felt to me like they were trying to tell me like it's not that deep. So I just wonder if like, oh, you have anxiety, oh, you have PTSD, oh, you have depression. It's like, yes, like these people go through crazy things that stick with them for life. People go through things that trigger their past, and in some cases people can fucking have visions and tap into their future. But ultimately I just feel like all of these feelings are normal. Like I feel like there's this big pressure to like, oh, you're suffering through depression, you should take this medication. Oh, you're suffering through anxiety, you should take this medication. That's what I'm getting to, the medication part. There are so many people who are struggling with, day-to-day normal things. Like, if I walk up to any random stranger right now in this city and ask them, like, hey, like, what's making you the most anxious right now, I can guarantee at least 7 out of 10 of those people will say housing, the drug crisis that we're walking around the city seeing. So there are things in chaos. Fuck the city, in the world, there are things in chaos happening all around us. And I feel like the feelings that we are feeling are rational. They are appropriate for the situation at hand. It's like, yeah, I just saw somebody OD on the street. Of course, that's going to make me feel some type of way. The solution to that problem isn't putting me on more medication and, basically giving me a doctor's recommended drug habit. I guess I'm just ranting a little bit, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I am someone in the psychology world, the world of behavioral health. I am anti-psychiatric meds. I feel like this is where my spirituality comes into my world of healing and psychology, behavioral health, however you want to categorize it. I just feel like God has put so many plants on this earth. God has given us so many things to ground with. There are so many ways we can meditate and, like, sit with that feeling. I just feel people need to sit with that feeling. Now, I'm not saying, like, other disorders that are more severe, like schizophrenia and, like, severe PTSD, as far as someone who's, like, went out to war. I'm not discounting, like, those feelings, and those may need a more serious level of attention than, like, smoking lavender to calm the anxiety. But that's where, like, I feel like herbs, like, or natural medicines like psilocybin or mushrooms, I feel like that's where those medicines come into play. I feel like a big part of the mental health issues that we have right now is that people are comparing a lot. We're comparing to, like, the goods that are happening in the world. We're comparing to, oh, someone just went out to Dubai, but I'm over here stressed about tax season coming up. Like, I don't know what people are going through, but I'm just saying, it's like, because of this world of comparison, I feel like people are trying to be more avoidant in what they're feeling. Like, oh, why do I feel this way? Like, they're not feeling like this, I shouldn't feel like this. But the reality is, it's like, I feel like people should just, like, take at least 3 minutes of their day to allow themselves to go through the emotions that they are feeling instead of avoiding those emotions. I feel like that's why the anxiety and the stress builds up and people have these more manic episodes. It's like, it's a can of soda, and the can of soda, you just bought it from the store. Okay, it had movement, that was a trauma for the soda. It's bubbling up. It went through your car, you hit a pothole, it bubbled up some more. You gotta run up the stairs and put it in the fridge. On your way up the stairs, you drop it bubbled up some more. Okay, it's building up pressure now. The pressure is building up. It's eventually, when you open that thing, it's gonna explode. So that's essentially what I'm saying is, like, people, we go through things, accidents happen, we get dropped a few times, we get shooken up, but how often do we sit with that feeling? We keep going. We don't have it in us to, like, be sad. And this is where the generational, like, and systematic conditioning comes from. It's like we've been conditioned to, like, not be sad, don't cry, it's gonna be okay. Like, I have a friend in community, and one thing that I learned from them is, like, we've been trained to give people tissues to stop them from crying, but that's actually not good for the nervous system. So that is a form of release that people, like, the body cries for a reason. The nervous system and the brain trigger you to cry to release that pain. So when that pain is not being released, where does that pain go? that pain travels. I can go on and on and on. I feel like I'm all over the place. But essentially what I'm saying is like the mental health crisis is, the issues are real, the diagnoses are real, but I feel like it's being overdone. I just feel like people are going to go through shit. People think differently. Like, we're not all going to be the fucking same. We're not all going to think the same. It's like, yes, like on the severe spectrum of PTSD, severe spectrum of autism, severe spectrum of, depression, like those feelings I get, like people have went through some fucked up shit and those feelings are real. But what I'm saying is on a day-to-day basis, I feel like it gets there. It gets to that moment. It gets to that moment because people don't sit with how they're feeling. Like, think about it. When is the last time let's rewind. Let's say you had an abusive father, right? And, all those memories didn't hit you, and like you didn't realize how bad it was until you got older. When you got older, you started getting triggers. You started getting triggers and triggers and triggers. But instead of like, sitting with this like, okay, fuck, this shit happened to me. That was really horrible. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna overcome this? You go drink every night. That feeling comes, you go drink. That feeling comes, you smoke a blunt. That feeling comes, you go pop Molly. Like, every time this feeling comes, you try to do something to make it go away. How often do people who go through these types of issues actually just sit and be like, 3 minutes, 2 minutes at a time, like this, you know what? This thing really happened to me. This thing makes me feel uncomfortable. This thing makes me feel unloved. This thing makes me feel hurt. This thing makes me feel this. If it wasn't for this thing, I wouldn't have had that negative energy to move up my life and do this. Or if this thing didn't happen, I wouldn't do this. It really hurt me when this happened. I really wish this could have happened. How often do people sit with that, take time to like just talk to somebody about it, write it out, meditate on it, and also give themselves affirmations, like, and look for understanding too. Like, how often people sit with themselves and say, I didn't deserve to go through that. I didn't need to go through that. My father was abused himself and he knew nothing but that. He needed help. I needed help. Neither of us deserved to be in a situation. Neither of us wanted that. How often do people sit and do that? I feel like that is a big step to like working through it. The thing with this form of processing though is that it takes longer. And in this society, people want instant. Everybody wants instant results. And I feel like the need for instant results is really what's pushing us behind and forcing on this like rise in Adderall in the grocery store and this rise in other psychiatric meds. I feel like, how about we just make a lavender tea, like inhale these smells and this aroma, and like let's have a discussion about how this thing makes you feel. Because either way it goes, if you decide to take a fucking Xanax or if you decide to do fucking ashwagandha, that thing that you went through is not going away. It's not. It's always going to be there. You went through it. It's in the past, yes, but this is something that has happened to you, and snorting a line of coke or any other like hard narcotic given to you by the doctor on the street is not going to change that. So this is my feelings about psychology. I can go on and on and on. It's already been like 15 minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking. But I just have a lot of feelings about the way that the world of psychology is moving today. And as someone who works in the profession with youth who have mental illnesses, behavior challenges, Like, one thing that I have always noticed is the shift in their behavior once they either decide to like delinquently smoke weed or they get put on some type of medication. I hate to be someone who says this, but honestly, I have seen children who decided to medicate themselves with marijuana have a better, has had a more positive impact on their behavior than those who have become dependent on their psychiatric meds. So, yeah. Pro natural medicine, not for the lab made medication. The world of psychology is crazy. But anyway, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, agrees, disagrees, anything on my large array of opinions, leave a comment below. Thank you.